Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at a graphical representation of what this means. And it has to do with the bell curve. If you remember things like the bell curve, vaguely, it's okay. We're not actually going to do bell curves. We're just going to remember what approximately what these things mean. So I'm going to Control C, and I'm going to click over here on tab, the XZ tab, and I'm going to just right-click my values with number paste. This 1, 2, 3 clipboard is number paste. If you notice, I already pasted those in there. And then right here, I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down. Or I can just highlight those first two and double-click, and it'll go all the way down. Or the other way I could do it is drag the corner all the way down, and it'll fill it in. Now, I forgot to value paste when I first did this worksheet, and that's why it's no longer orange right there. But you need to value paste because you need to have your uncertainties. You need to value paste the numbers and not formulas, and sometimes we'll be copying formulas. Now, this worksheet over here has lots of formulas and functions in it. You don't have to worry about it. If you're good at math, you can dig through it. Everything's open. Okay, so for this first one, we're just doing an average, and so there's no linear component and there's no x squared component, and so you're going to put those check boxes in there and perform regression. Now, after that, you're going to notice, one thing I forgot to tell you is you're supposed to copy this over. So let's do that. Copy the standard deviation, copy, right-click on the top cell, value paste, 1, 2, 3, and now drag it down or double-click it down. Okay, there we go. Now you can come over here and fit it. Perform regression. When you press that button, it refreshes every single formula on this worksheet. It cleans everything out and puts everything back in. Okay, so next, there's this yellow box over here, and this yellow box is the standard error. And if we notice this number right here, it's actually the same number as we saw right there. There's the average and there's the standard error. And once again, I used the number decrease, the digit decrease, to round to the correct number of 1 and 2. Okay, now the next thing it's going to ask you to do is it's going to ask you to edit this graph right here. So let's see how we can edit it. I got to get the little thing in the screen. There we go. So the first thing you're going to do is right-click it and select data. And actually, you know what? Sorry about this. Let's do one more little thing before we do that select data. Let's come up to the top, and we're going to scroll over, and we got to add in this plus and minus average sigma. And so to do that, I'm going to click on equals, equals, and I'm going to come over to here, over to this yellow box, and I'm going to say equals that. That's the average. Now I'm going to do plus, and I'm going to plus my sigma. But watch what happens when I do that. Okay, now I drag it down, and all the numbers disappear. The reason is I need, Microsoft automatically will say this cell now comes from a different value. So instead of that, we want it to keep doing those two cells, and so to do that, we click on that first value and press F4, and it adds those dollar signs. Or we could just simply type in dollar signs as we go along. I find that a little bit more tedious. I like to just press F4 until I get it to where I want it. And we want dollar signs on both sides, and copy that down. And we want to do the same thing for this one, but now it's the average minus the standard deviation. Okay. Now, I've already added those lines to it, but let's look to see how we would add those lines to it. Right-click, select data, and here we go. Now, also, let's select the first one, edit it, and we can call the series name data. So let's go ahead and just data. Number 1 will always be data. Number 2 will be the fit line. So down here, the legend will show up the right way. Now let's do plus and minus. So we would add a line. So go ahead and click add on your computer. I already did it, so I'm going to click edit. Now we have to fill this in. Now to fill that in, let's just type minus SD first. And then under the X values, we're just going to, let's go ahead and delete that. We're going to select our X column values. See the X up there? I didn't change my titles, but I should have. And down here, we do the same thing. We would delete that curly bracket 1 in there and select all our Y values. Oops, wait. except for this isn't the y. This is the minus. Okay, yep, I selected the whole thing and I hit click OK. And then I would do the same thing for the plus SD, and then I click OK. And it looks like I might have screwed something up, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z. Control Z. There we go. Yep, I screwed up one of the numbers. But anyways, so now yours isn't going to look like this right from the beginning. You're going to have to edit it. Now, lines such as a fit line are lines, or functions are lines. But data is always data points, unless you have tons and tons of data, and then sometimes you do a line. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to format data series. Oops, it's just right off the screen. So let's right-click it again, format data series. The first thing you want to do is on the data, you want to make the point smaller. And so you come over here to the paint can and click on marker and marker options, and you can choose built-in and change the size to 2. And that makes the data points really small. Next, you select one of the other sets of data, like this one's the minus, and you come over here to the paint can again, and you go to line, and you type in a solid line. And if you want to, you can choose the color and stuff like that. But then you go to marker options, and you turn off the markers. So once again, functions or lines, or fit lines, don't have data points. They're just lines. They're mathematical functions, while data is data. And so you'd want to do the same thing for the top. Turn off the marker, none, and then turn on the solid line. You might have to turn on the solid line first, but there you go. And then you're also going to change the axes and the title. And for this first one, you can go ahead and use my title, period of a 555 timer. But in the future, I want you to be a little bit more creative. Never say this is period versus trial number. Never use the axes titles in the title. You're already telling me this data shows period versus trial number there. Up here for the title, I want you to be a little bit creative and put in, why are you measuring the period versus trial number? Of what? And so, or maybe it's of what slope you're trying to find, or something like that. So here it's the period of a 555 timer.